My name is Ria Lewin, and this is my evaluation on the Arts Depot performance of The Small Hours.
Hi, Rio. So thank you for your questions. So just to kick off, would you just be kind enough to say what your role was in this production?
My overall role in this production was helping out during rehearsals, filling in when people were absent and giving ideas when rehearsals or helping them learn their movement. But from the first performance to this performance, I've more so filled in the role of working with the sound, because from the last home performance, they knew what were doing, they didn't really need my help, but my focus was primarily on the sound work.
So it sounds like you had a kind of an extended technical role.
Yes.
My understanding is that you were also involved with some of the other things as well. Would you like to talk a little bit about the lighting and production?
The production, I was mainly with sounds, where I did help with the projection and some of the lighting work as well. With the sound, it was mainly helping decide what type of sound we were going to be using, and whereabout in the script it would slot in, and if each sound would work or not, and trying to adjust the volumes and how long each sound go for. It was more kind of polishing each sound and adding new sounds and replacing some other sounds.
Great. So, thinking about your this sort of formative performance at the home performance of the piece, you when we talked about that, you had some goals that you had set yourself kind of moving forward from that performance into the Arts Depot. Would you like to talk a little bit about what those goals were?
The goals was mainly to help make the sound work well and easily, to make it work well with the performance, working well with all the actors and the director. So my main goal for moving forward was to either change some of the sounds to make it sound better, change when the sounds are played, just to make it, because it was a learning experience from the home performance, learning what worked and what didn't work. And so the goal was to, what didn't work, why didn't it work, and moving forward, like in the final scene, instead of them saying the times and how old they were over the alarms, we discovered that didn't work as well. So we decided to have the alarms first and then have them speak and figure out what did work and how we can even improve that further. Like the alarm at the end of each scene, how that did work. It worked well because it was like, oh, this hour is over. But to improve it, we didn't want the loud bell alarms at the end to continue going for as long and as loud. So after the first loud bell, we started to make it quieter, so the scene didn't feel too long and quickly transitioned.
So if you can sort of just sum that up a little bit for me, and maybe just kind of give me 2 or 3 goals that you had set yourself.
Goal to improve any sound work that didn't work, to change how the sound worked with the performance, and to help the actors and the director concentrate on working on the movements so they could focus on that.
Great, thank you. I think you've probably answered your next question as well. So obviously there was a big difference between the space that you used for your home performance and then when you went off to the Arts Depot, which is a professional space. So thinking about what equipment there was available to you, and how did this differ from what you had previously?
Well, previously I was just using a laptop with the basic software, which was I had to turn down the volume myself, and I had to change it all manually, make it louder and quieter. But the equipment at the Arts Depot, I had a man Andy, the actual sound guy, help me. The equipment was still on a laptop, but the software was different. So I could give him my notes and tell him this is the idea we had, and he, with all his programming knowledge, edited the sound so it could like follow my instruction, and so he programmed that so it could play smoothly. So it made it much easier, so I didn't have to manually do it in the actual show. So he was essentially part of my equipment. I'd give him all the ideas and he'd program it out. So it all worked, and it was a much easier thing, and sort of goes smoother when the actual show was on.
So just to sum up, in terms of equipment, what did you have what did you have as equipment in the Arts Depot? So thinking about things like you always had better lighting.
Had the better lighting. Oh yes, there was different lightings too, and we could easily see in the assist piece, because in the home performance we had pretty much one lighting state throughout it all. But we could experiment a bit with the Arts Depot, and they had some red lighting from different angles shining into Holly's face, which was describing the cyst, and we used red lighting instead of normal lighting. So just it made it, because the lighting seemed all serious, but what she was saying was quite not serious. It was a silly dream she had, so the lighting changed that. So the lighting was much better. We could experiment more with the lighting.
So what else did you have in terms of equipment?
It was we had software. I can't remember the name of the actual software itself, but it was sounds easy. It's an easier laptop that had all the professional software put into it.
Did you have a sound desk?
Yes,
lighting desk?
It was all put out. I have some pictures of it that has also been put on my blog.
Brilliant, thank you. So what challenges were you faced with making the transition from the home performance into the Arts Depot?
I'm used to, in the old performances, if I play a sound at the wrong time by pressing one button, to stop that sound, what I'm used to is pressing that same button. However, at the Arts Depot, you press the button if I press the button at the wrong time. You have to press a different button to stop that sound, but I wasn't used to that. Luckily, it was during the tech run, so I pressed the button at the wrong time, and out of panic, I pressed that same button, so it played the next sound over the previous sound and just kept lapping up. So it was kind of a different experience, because there were more buttons that I had to get used to using.
So it's a bit of a learning curve.
Yeah, it was definitely a learning curve, but luckily we had that run, so I could get used to that quite easily.
Was there any other challenges, in terms of space or staging?
The staging wasn't the largest performing space, because we were quite lucky with our home performance, because it's larger than some performing spaces. However, the stage that was at the Arts Depot it went quite far back, but it wasn't as wide. And from where I was sitting, I couldn't. When they weren't put front of the stage, I couldn't entirely see them. So it was kind of, I had to listen to what they were saying at all times and follow their cues on that. And we had the projection too, which was it was a much larger projection area. Yeah.
Great, thank you. So you had a 3-hour slot allotted to you at the Arts Depot. And so tell me what you did in that 3 hours.
Well, I mentioned the sound guy at the Arts Depot, Andy. He was there. He helped me throughout it all. I had the sounds book with me, and I was telling him all the things I had written down. And once I told him, he used the software to edit down the sounds, and he told me how to play them. And 3 hours was just me and him, me telling him all the idea, like everything that we had to do. He does it, and then we asked the performers to go through that scene, so I could use that sound in that scene. And if it didn't sound right, or if it was too loud, or it was too quick, or it just didn't fit in with the scene, I would use that to, we'll do this instead of the sound. And that's what essentially 3 hours consisted of. It was just experimenting with the sound.
So can you remember what the name of that type of rehearsal is?
I believe it's a tech demo. run. It's a tech.
So it's called a Q2Q.
That's it. Yeah, I remember that.
Okay. So can you remember why it's called a Q2Q?
Because we don't, in the Q2Q, we don't go throughout the whole thing. It's, can we do from this scene, from this line, and so we can get used to playing that sound.
So from
the different cues.
From one cue to another.
Yeah.
Good, well done. Okay. So was there anything, knowing what now, in retrospect, is there anything you perhaps would have done differently with that 3 hours?
3 hours. I believe I would have liked to. I'm not so sure because there was a lot of things that I was learning. I believe that I used 3 hours. I think we used 3 hours to the best of our ability because everything that was new to me, and so it was like an hour of it was learning, and the other 2 hours was the Q2Q. So I don't think I would have changed anything different. I mean, going back to it now, because I already know everything's with it, probably use that other hour going over some more cues, or even changing some of the sounds or adding new ones.
Okay. So thinking about if you had sort of infinite time and money, they weren't an object, there wasn't an object there, how would you improve the show?
I think
from a kind of maybe technology perspective.
I would have liked to have spent some more time on the projection. That's one thing I would have liked to spend on, because the thing with the projection, what we had was every time the glass cracked, it didn't slowly crack how I would have liked it to happen. I would have, throughout the whole show, I would have liked it to slowly crack throughout the whole thing. By the end of it, all the cracks are there. But I had to manually add the cracks, so it was just a sudden another crack is there.
Oh, right.
Which that could have been seen as a nice effect because it's just sudden moments. But personally, I would have preferred to see what I'd like to slowly cracks throughout the whole time. That's one thing I would have liked to change.
That's interesting.
And another thing, I still believe that there were some sounds that could have been changed or edited, because there were some of the alarms that we did repeat, and I would still like to have got some new sounds for that, because I just don't think it should have been repeated.
You talked a lot previously about the idea of creating a soundscape. In fact, you're not the only person who said that. I think Reese has said that as well, this idea of creating a soundscape for the...
Yeah, it's just, I would have liked to added more sounds or change some of the sounds, because I just felt like there was... like the house party, I liked the effect of having them make the noise themselves, but I would have also liked throughout the scene, on the window scene, a faint background noise, because even though they are outside, they are still on the house of that party. I would have liked to have some faint, so during the awkward silences, all you could hear in the background is music playing, and they're standing there, and have this nice feeling to it, saying that they're still at a party, but now there's a feeling between the two of them.
So you're kind of listening to what's happening in the background. Yeah, that's nice. That's a really nice idea. Okay, so what do you think you learnt from having to do this role? Because obviously it was not what you planned originally. So you know, what do you feel you took away from it?
I already knew it, but now it's kind of I realise more so how much work goes behind the sound and lighting, because I always knew there was work behind it, but it took us 3 hours, and we barely managed to finish the Q2Q by the end of it, and there's so much work that goes into it, and I think now in future performances and productions, I'll be thinking maybe we could have this sound here, just out of instinct because before I used to be like, whatever, okay, you want a sound here, there's a sound here, but now I'll be thinking, and I'll be like, if there was a sound here, could it work?
How would that change?
Yeah, exactly.
So do you think, thinking about that, do you think that it's perhaps changed your perspective as a performer?
Yeah, but as I used to be as a performer, I did offer some ideas, but it was more, I kind of had the director's word goes most of the time. But now it's, if I have an idea for how a sound will change the scene, I feel like I will tell, I won't keep it to myself, like maybe it'll sound good, but I don't want to, it's not really my place to say, and that will be so, take the director's side and ask what kind of sounds they're planning to use and offer my ideas up.
So how important do you think, having done this, how important do you think it is to work kind of collaboratively with all of these things?
It's very important, because if the performance we did didn't have any sound or lighting, or limited sound and lighting, it would have completely changed the whole feel, I guess. If we didn't have the alarms, out of nowhere they would have just been shouting 5 a.m. or at one point.
Sure, yeah.
And it gives a certain kind of feel to it. It gives the feel of, at the end of each scene, it's like, oh, that everything that's happened in the scene has been over an hour. Because the alarm always goes off at the end of each, bell goes off at the end of each hour. And at the beginning of the scene they said it was 3 a.m, but now a bell has gone off. So this whole thing has been over a certain amount of time. And it's just, it gives it really changes how a whole performance kind of feels, which I didn't think had that much effect previously.
Do you think it will potentially change the way that you devise work, that maybe you'll kind of be led more incorporatively by other things, sound, music maybe?
Yeah, as before, I used to have things like devising what can I do as a performer, but now I'll probably be like, what sound could be played instead? Because as before, it was just kind of, what can I do? What can we do as a group performing? What can we perform and what can we show? Instead of what can they hear? Which I think.
Do you think it changes? Do you think the use of music in particular can change the meaning of what you're creating?
Yeah, I do believe different. Going back to the idea of the party scene, that awkward silence between the Wolfie and VJ. If there was some sort of music in the background, whether it was like party music, it would give the effect that it's like, if they played sad music in the background, it's like, obviously this is a sad scene. You could play the obvious sad music, sad scene, or you could just juxtapose it with party music so they're still
more
at party.
subtle.
Yeah. So it can just kind of change how it all feels.
Lovely. Thank you very much.